The process of investing in infrastructure begins with the preparation of a cost estimate based on the Bhutan Schedule of Rates, also known as BSR. The performance of BSR depends on the validity of rates and a reliability for estimating construction costs, tracking cost development, and forecasting the eventual project cost. The Construction Development Board reported 40% running into time overrun and 47% running into cost overrun out of 674 projects completed during the financial year 2019 and 20. The cost and schedule overrun had relatively remained constant over the last 5 years as per the CDV annual report. The calculation of cost index in the BSR does not efficiently measure the price movement over the time. Labor and Material Coefficient 2021 has reduced the labor coefficient to quantities that contradict standard norm of calculating the labor cost. The Procurement Rules and Regulation 2019 allows for variation up to 20% of the initial contract cost for additional works. The 20% leeway for cost escalation granted by the Procurement Rules and Regulations necessitates BSR's pragmatic approach for deriving the basic rates and built-up rates for construction items. The issues of fair valuation of work and pricing of variation are the major issues yet to be resolved. The restriction imposed by the Procurement Rules and Regulation 2019 for using the brand has affected the maintenance of the quality. The appointment of an arbitrator to represent one's organization as provisioned by the Alternative Dispute Resolution Act of Bhutan 2013 raises an issue of conflict of interest. This paper recommends the amendment of a couple of clauses of the Procurement Rules and Regulation 2019, besides recommending the modification and improvement of the methodological approaches to calculate BSR rates and built-up rates. This paper also recommends the periodical publication of BSR and transferring the institutional mandates of BSR publication to the National Statistics Bureau. The construction sector is significant to Bhutan's economy with forwarding and backward linkages and exerts a multiplier effect on the other economic sector. Any variation in the construction sector will have a domino effect on all the related sectors, and a change in any of the sector will have significant repercussions on the country's economy. The construction industry saw a negative GDP growth as opposed to 2019. The literature review asserts the schedule of rates to provide the basis for estimating project costs and pricing of variation. However, BSR refrains the purposes by disclaiming non-comprehensive and accuracy of rates. The Procurement Rules and Regulation 2019 provisions the negotiation between the procuring agency and a contractor to agree on a suitable rates if the contract does not contain any rates applicable to the variation. A large and complex projects are susceptible to variation, requiring the addition of a new item of work that is outside the bill of quantity. The rate analysis for deciding the suitable rate is performed based on the market rate, which is typically higher than the actual rate of the material. In most cases, the contractor tend to overprice the variation to cover up any shortfalls in their initial bids. If otherwise, the Procurement Rules and Regulation provisions the payment based on the BSR rate. Besides BSR not disclaiming the contractual payment, the fair valuation and pricing of the variation could be materialized. Similarly, the Dzongkhag engineers mentioned that the BSR has not included the recent and technologically advanced products and the obsolete materials are not replaced. Inevitably, the huge project will have extra items of work requiring new materials which is not covered by the BOQ. Because the additional materials are not reflected in the BSR, the procuring agency is unable to price based on the BSR and must rely on the contractor's rate analysis. BSR requires the specification for building and roadworks to be read in conjunction, and it applies at the site and is aimed at ensuring the material used in the construction meets the specification. The specification shall be based on the proven standards to lower the risks of non-compliance. However, the specification for building and roadworks does not specify the conformance of material to the national standards and use of products certified by the Bhutan Standards Bureau. The use of certified products ensures the broader aspect of safety and quality before the field by setting the requirements such as maintenance of production process and third-party testing. The market offers a wide range of products or a brand meeting the specification, but the quality and the price vary significantly among the products depending on the brands. The Procurement Rules and Regulations 2019 restrict the use of particular brand name, and the restriction negatively affects the quality control as the contractor normally go for cheaper brands meeting the specification but not necessarily providing the required quality. Therefore, specifying the brands beside the conformance to the national standards would ensure the quality and rationalize the payment. This study validated the basic rates given in the BSR. The rates given in the BSR raises a plausible doubt because between the year 2017 and 18, 65% of the basic rates for civil material and 90% of the basic rates for electrical materials were identical. The study compared only 40 products randomly from civil and electrical among approximately 9,144 materials listed in the BSR. Most materials such as flat-type brass timber, a residual current circuit breaker and lamp showed the unusual percentage changes in the rates for the year 2020 as opposed to 2018, besides other material also showing the unusual percentage changes in the rates. The built-up rates of items in the BSR are found to be impractical since the labor rate neither specifies the number of labor required nor the amount of time required by the labor to complete each work. This is because the labor rate as such must include both quantities of the labor and time required by the labor to arrive at accurate cost. The construction cost index was computed using the Laspera index for the basket of items selected for the roadworks and building materials from the base year 2015. The construction cost index trend showed a periodical variation between 2013 to 2021, with a subsequent increase and decreases in the trend line. Typically, the CCI or the construction cost index ascends, indicating the inflation in the price of the material. However, the study indicated that the prices of the material for roadworks were fluctuating randomly. The forecast result computed using the univariate time series ARIMA model also showed a horizontal line projection of the construction cost index, indicating poor forecast result due to the inadequate and inconsistent historical data. The BSR rates are higher than the market rate, according to the 56.25% of the Zongkok engineers as opposed to 43% Zongkok engineers claiming that the BSR rates were lower. BSR rates were calculated using the data from the census survey that included all sizes of the store. The significant disparities in the selling prices of the item between the large or wholesale and retailers were observed. Small retailers aren't usually involved in the bidding or supplying large amount of the material. The collecting of data from the small retail stores that generally sells at higher rates, on the other hand, had an impact on averaging the material's basic rates. The review of literature indicated the preparation of BSR by the institution providing key statistics on the economy. In Egypt, the schedule of rates is prepared by the Central Agency for Public Mobilization and Statistics. However, in India, the Central Project Work Department is the nodal agency for preparing the schedule of rates. The Bhutan Alternative Dispute Resolution Center has completed 101 arbitral awards between the year 2018 and 2020, and typically all disputes related to construction industries arise from the violation of Clause 7 of the Standard Bidding Document, such as cost escalation, price adjustment, and BOQ. The highest disputed amount resolved at the center is related to the termination of contract worth of Niltrum 102 million, followed by the violation of general conditions of the contract of Niltrum 92 million. Most of the civil servant arbitrators are from Ministry of Works and Human Settlement, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, and Construction Development Board. These three ministries are government agencies that are involved in the large-scale public construction projects, whereas CDB is an autonomous government agency that governs the construction industry, including contractors, architects, and engineers. Section 54 of the Alternative Dispute Resolution Act of Bhutan 2013 allows the parties engaged in the dispute to choose and appoint the arbitrator at their discretion. This provides the parties involved in the dispute to choose their arbitrator, and the concerned ministries will probably appoint their employee who is registered arbitrator to represent their ministries as attorney for the conflict settlement at the center. The average percentage cost and time overrun out of the total completed projects over the last 5 years was 57% and 47% respectively. The figure indicates that almost half of the total construction works ran into cost and time overrun each year for the past 5 years. It is expected that new and upcoming projects are also likely to encounter both time and cost overrun if the status quo continues. During the financial year 2019 and 20, 1,315 works were awarded, amounting to 9.6 billion. Considering the relatively same construction management for the next 5 years, it is expected that 57% and 47% of the total works are likely to suffer cost and time overrun, which would incur millions of monetary loss. The BSR shall be prepared and published for estimating, forecasting the cost of the construction and the basis for making contractual payment. Procurement Rules and Regulation 2019 must provision the valuation and pricing of variation for additional work with similar character and similar condition based on the BSR instead of negotiating between the procuring agency and contractors to agree on the suitable rates. BSR shall list all modern and technologically advanced material to ensure the procuring agency to price based on the BSR whenever the additional items are included in the construction which is outside the BOQ, and shelter from bias rate analysis done by the contractor. The cost escalation factor shall be determined based on the construction cost index, and anticipated extra costs which are likely to be incurred due to the inflation shall be included in the cost estimate. The procuring agency must identify the material where price adjustment shall be made, unlike the Procurement Rules and Regulation, which allows the price adjustment for all materials. Procurement Rules and Regulation must not restrict specifying the use of particular brand, and BSR shall specify the brand in conformance to national standard and use of products certified by the Bhutan Standards Bureau. BSR shall be published by National Statistics Bureau periodically and updated quarterly to ensure statistically significant project estimation. The statistical operation for calculating the cost index shall be based on the Laspara index to enable tracking cost development and forecasting the final cost of the project. The basic rate shall be based on the wholesale rates instead of the averages of maximum retail price obtained from the retailers. The Labor and Material Coefficient 2020-21 shall be renamed as Guide for Built-up Rate Analysis. The labor cost for built-up rates analysis shall be calculated based on the actual number of days or man days or working hours required to complete the works. The Alternative Dispute Resolution Act of Bhutan 2013 shall not provide the appointment of arbitrator from one's own organization where the appointee is already party to the dispute.